All right, and I think we're live. Hello everyone. I welcome you to our live stream. My name is Hani and I'm the Education USA advisor. And my special guest today is Daniel, who's going to talk about understanding the American visa requirements and immigration procedures today. So super interesting and super useful topic for you guys who are thinking about going to the United States. I know many of you are going through the process right now because you were accepted to American universities and colleges. Congratulations. So you are about to apply for your F1, J1, other types of visas. So this might be a good guide for you to know what steps you have to take in order to succeed and get your visas and then, sit on a plane and go to the United States. So before I turn it over to Danielle, I'm going to introduce Education USA a little bit, because if you are here and this is your first time hearing about Education USA, I would like to let you know that we are a network that provides free and accurate and unbiased information about study opportunities in the United States. So if you are a high schooler thinking about a university in the US, just let me know. Or if you are already at a university and you are thinking about work and travel, or you're thinking about an internship, I'm also happy to advise you or connect you with someone who has the information, and it's all happening free of charge. So just so you know. I'm located, my education center is located in Prague. But if you are not from Prague, that's totally okay, because either you can reach out to me online via email, or if you want to see someone like a real person, you can go to our American centers that are all around the Czech Republic. So you can go to Ústí nad Labem, to Olomouc, Brno, Ostrava, Plzeň, and they're my colleagues who are also able to do some advising, and they're able to give you information and so forth. So if you prefer real people, this is where you go. And what we offer are consultations. So again, if you have questions or if your parents have questions, you can always schedule consultation and I'm happy to answer all of them. We do have a library, so if you are about to take an SAT test and you are out of resources, you can definitely borrow a book. And then we do events. They can be live streams such as this one. We do some workshops and we do in-person events. There is one coming up in June. It's going to be a networking event. So if you are in Prague on the 25th of June, feel free to stop by in Kampa Park to meet with other students or people interested in studying in the US, and we will be networking there. Very informal event, so you can definitely stop by. Everything you need to know will be on our social media under the handle Education USA Czech. And now over to you, Daniel. Sorry. Thank you for joining today.
Thank you so much, Hani, for having me. Hi, everyone. My name is Daniel, as Hani said. I am scholarship and study abroad mentor. I also studied in the US for 1 year as a part of year program. It was the most magical time of my life. And I want to tell you about me a little bit more. I study at the University of New York in Prague in Czech Republic. Currently, I'm on my exchange in Spain and traveling extensively in Europe in general. I love promoting the idea of international education and exchange among young people. Also blog about traveling, living and study abroad. You can find my Instagram also on the slide with Daniel Cruz as my nickname. I help people to look for opportunities for self-development, and I also teach English in my free time. But today we're going to talk about amazing topic, as Hani said, which is very interesting, but also very hard to understand. So in case you have any questions, please reach out to us during the webinar or after it. Today, we're going to talk about understanding US student visas, especially F1, J1, and M1. We're going to talk about requirements and immigration procedures. I'll tell you about the application process for all of those visas. We'll also cover waiver eligibility for interview. We're going to talk about important documents and service fee, maintaining status and employment opportunities, post-completion options for all of those visa holders, and travel and re-entry procedures. But before we start, I want to talk a little bit about terminology, because there are a lot of abbreviations that some of you might not know. And to be honest, I'm also confused all the time with that. So like, if you can screenshot it right now or write it down somewhere, it would be great. So CEVP stands for Student and Exchange Visitor Program. DHS, Department of Homeland Security. SEVIS is Student and Exchange Visitor Information System. Designated school official is DSO. DOS is the Department of State. So ESTA, Electronic System for Travel Authorization. If you ever travel to the United States, you would be in their base. MRV, Machine Readable Visa, is the visa that you have in your passport. OPT, Optional Practical Training, and STM, Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. That's more of a major related thing that we're going to talk a little bit later. So overview, what is the difference between F1, J1, and M1 visas? F1 visa is a non-immigrant visa that is designed for international students who wish to study full-time at CEVP. So go into the student and exchange visa program, certified US university. So this visa allows students to stay in the United States for the duration of their academic program. And to be eligible, you must be accepted by a US institution, which you probably already have. And you should demonstrate also sufficient financial resources to cover your stay there and intend to return to your home country after completing your studies. J1 visa is also a non-immigrant visa, but it is usually for participating in programs to promote cultural exchange. These can include students, trainees, teachers, professors, research scholars, and more. For example, work and travel program is also under J1 visa. The J1 visa is often used for short-term study, research, or professional training. M1 visa is designed for students enrolled in vocational and non-academic program. So these programs could include technical or vocational courses as opposed to traditional academic coursework. Now let's go to the application process for all of those visas, which could be a little bit tough to do. So first of all, when you're applying for F1 visa, this is the most common visa that you will get if you want to study in the US. You would need to gather the documentation, especially you would need your acceptance letter and the Form I-20 from the university, from the designated school official at the university, DSO. So they will give you the form and the certificate of eligibility for non-immigrant student status. Then you would need to go to Department of State website. It's on the slide, you can see it, ceac.state.gov, and fill out the form DC 160. That is online application for all non-immigrant visa applicants. After that, you would need to pay the CVIS fee. So it is mandatory, and it must be paid before applying for your visa. You will need information from the I-20 to complete this payment. So you can't really go and pay the fee before you get the I-20. So make sure to have it in the first place.
And for you guys who are fall 2024 students, now is the time when you're getting your I-20. So you already confirmed that you are, getting the place at the university. So you should be expecting your I-20 in your email boxes. And if not, please send an email to your DSO or to your advisor or to the university in general and request your I-20 so that you can go through this process.
Yeah, it could be from the register office of the university. It could be international office. Some in different universities is different. So, but make sure to have that form and to save it. After you pay the fee, you can schedule a visa interview at the nearest US embassy or consulate. So In Czechia, I
It's
think it
really
would be
broad.
Prague.
Yeah.
Yes. So be sure to prepare the necessary documents for your interview, including your passport. You need the international passport to travel. Remember about that. For my 20, DS 160 confirmation page, receipt for the service fee, and financial documents supporting that you can cover the cost of life there. And your tuition if you have to pay the tuition.
I'll jump in real quick. Guys, please make sure that your passport is valid for at least 4 years. Because if it's not, then you would have to redo it all over again and pay for it again. So make sure you have a valid passport, and the financial documents that we are, talking about. If you were offered a scholarship that covers the whole thing, you were offered a full ride, which I know that many of you were. Congratulations. This is the financial proof that you need to show them. Okay? Awesome.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. Although you can enter the United States with a passport, I think, of validity of at least half a year.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have the passport for at least 4 or 5 years, would be better to get rid of the hassle. But even if you don't, and it's the very last minute something, you can still make a new passport in the embassy of the Czech Republic or any other embassy that you have the citizenship of in the US. And then remake all of those documents again and again. But yeah, I would rather issue a new passport in that way. Then you, of course, attend the visa interview. So during the interview, the consular officer will ask you questions to determine your eligibility for the F1 visa. They will review your documents and confirm your intent to study in the United States. They will also would love you to go back to your home country. So make sure to not say anything that is not considering immigration to the United States. That would be a great point during your interview. And visa issuance. So if your application is approved, when the consular says your visa is approved, we're taking your passport, your passport will be returned to you with the F1 visa stamp or sticker inside your passport, and you can take all the travel arrangements to the United States.
That's awesome. Just keep in mind that it takes 2 days at least to get your visa. So please don't plan a vacation where you need a passport a day after your trip to the embassy for the interview, because they take your passport and they keep it for a day or two before they return it with the visa. So just keep that in mind, that you're going to leave without a passport, and then it, either you pick it up, or if you're not from Prague, they can deliver it to you via mail. Okay?
Yes, that's what I wanted to add as well. If you cannot, for example, stay in the city where you attended the interview, there is sometimes the possibility of the consulate to send you the passport back by the postal office. But make sure that you are planning the trip ahead, because it also takes time to post it to you. Then we're going to J1 visa, which is exchange program visa. It is kind of similar to F1 visa, but have some key differences. For example, we don't have I-20 anymore. We have DS 2019 form. So you must be accepted into an exchange approved by the Department of State of the United States. And your program will provide you with the DS 2019 form and a certificate of eligibility for exchange visitor J1 status. Then you would also need, as F1 visa, you would need to go to the website and complete the DS 160 and pay the service fee. Sometimes, if the program is sponsored by the Department of State or some organization, the exchange organization, the exchange program, they might pay the service fee for you. So in that case, you would need to have the receipt with you, having been paid. Then you schedule a visa interview again. So you just have passport again, the DS 2019, DS 160 confirmation page, service fee receipt, and proof of funding. If you're going by yourself on the exchange program, which is not covered, you give them the proof of funding. If you are fully covered, that would probably state in DC 2019 form that they are they're covering your stay there. But also, like if they're giving you any additional proof of funding, take it with you. The more documents you have, the better.
Yeah, yeah.
Then you attend the visa interview, pretty simple thing. So they will also be asking you the purpose of your exchange program. So you should know everything about it. For how many days you're going, where are you going, do you have orientation in some other city? For example, I lived in Washington State, but I had my interview back in Moscow, and they were asking me, so where are you going in the US? I'm like, okay, so the first thing I'm going is Washington, D.C. And there was some talk after that, and the lady that was interviewing me, she asked, so where are you going after Washington? And at that point of time, I thought she thought of Washington State, and I was like, okay, I'm going home because that's a rule. Like I have to return to my home country after the program ends. And she's like, no, 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 no. Like, where are you going after the orientation in Washington, D.C.? I'm like, oh, you guys are so creative because I'm going from Washington to Washington. Yeah, so
Cool.
that was like a misunderstanding, and she laughed about it. But yeah, I got my visa, so everything went fine. But just make sure to know all of the information about J1 visa and your program. And then I got the visa in my passport as well, so just the sticker, and I could further proceed my travel plans. As for M1 visa, if you're attending vocational and non-academic programs, similar to F1, you would need I-20 from the DSO. Then you again complete the DS 160, you pay the fee, and schedule visa interview with all of those documents that you have that we already talked about it. Attend the visa interview. So you're gonna answer the questions about your vocational program, your intent to return home after completion, your financial stability, and after you get your visa, you can you can plan your travels.
I'll jump in real quick. I'm sorry.
Sure, sure.
I just wanted to make sure you guys that you plan ahead, because I know that Prague is very efficient, but still you can get a visa appointment within 1 month. So don't leave it to last minute. Like there is an option for an expedited visa interview. Just don't leave it to last minute. Like as soon as you get your I-20 and as soon as you read that start date of your
Studies.
educational visit study, you can arrive up to 30 days prior to the start date. So schedule that interview as soon as possible. And the other thing that I wanted to mention for F1 visas, because I get that question a lot, you gotta pay the DS 160 and you gotta pay the CVIS fee. There are no fee waivers, and if there are, it takes forever. So prepare that money. I know it's not inexpensive, but you will have to cover that from your own pocket. So just that we are clear. Yeah.
Yeah, but if the program is under the US Embassy, they usually pay the fees themselves.
Okay.
I'm talking about J1 visa here.
Yeah. I am the F1 guy.
Yeah.
You say that. Yeah.
Yeah. As for interview waiver eligibility, I will cover that as well. Sometimes, rarely, in some conditions, you don't have to attend the interview, but make sure that you're eligible for that. So it was a rule, but Hani told me that it's not longer available.
Yeah.
So it used to be that first time F, M, and J applicants who previously traveled to the United States as their travel arrangements as a tourist, they were eligible for the interview, but now they are no longer eligible for the waiver. So make sure to know that. Travelers aged 80 and older who haven't been refused a visa in the last 2 years are eligible for the interview waiver. So I think that would be mostly for F1 and M1 visas, most probably, because for J1, the cultural programs usually don't cover that age. It's usually much younger. Children under the age of 14, So if you're lucky enough and you already go on an exchange in such a young age, you might also get the interview waiver. And applicants who renew a visa that meets specific criteria of visa being issued after August 30th, 2007, with 10 fingerprints taken and within 48 months of expiration or still valid. So make sure, like, if you're renewing the visa, like that you're already there, for example, and you renew, like, I don't know, every year or every two, like you can get without interview, but make sure that it's within 48 months of expiration or still valid.
Okay.
As for waiver, if you get it, you would need to do absolutely same thing. Like you need to complete 160 form. You would need to answer the interview waiver questions. So you would need to log into the applicant system, and if eligible, you will receive an interview waiver confirmation letter. Then you would need to collect your DC 160 confirmation page, MRV, machine readable visa fee receipt, current and previous passport, if you have with you, photo of you to put on visa, and a letter explaining your travel purpose and itinerary. Then you submit the documents to the US Embassy, and you receive visa usually by a courier because you don't attend the interview. Also, you can pick it up in the embassy if you're there. As for important documents and CVS fees, the Form I-20 for F1 and M1 and DC 2019 are crucial documents for your visa application and for your stay in the United States. Because it has the details of your academic, exchange, or vocational program and the financial resources, whether they cover your stay, they cover your tuition, they cover your expenses or not. So you must keep those documents throughout your stay in the US. They are required for entry, for travel endorsements, and and various benefits like a driver license or social security number. So if you want to make a social security, you would also need to show them DS 2019 or I-20 form. So make sure that you have it and you don't lose it. Like passport and that form should be together in the safe box. Like you cannot really. Before applying for a visa, you must pay, as I told you before, the CVS fee. To do that, you would need the information such as your full name, date of birth, email address, country of birth and citizenship, school code of the university you go to, and CVS ID number from your Form I-20 or DS 2019. So make sure you have the original forms for your visa interview. So if you have it over email, that won't work. Like they need the paper stuff. So they all send you by the postage. Or if it's also a program under the United States Embassy, they can give it to you personally sometimes, as it was with me, for example. Going further, now we're going to talk about maintaining status and further employment opportunities. So once you arrive in the United States on an F1, J1, or M1 visa, you must maintain your status. So for F1 visa, yes. Otherwise, like if you're dropped out of school, like your visa is not working anymore. Same goes for vocational or non-academic, or if you are not doing the exchange program that you are supposed to do, like they can deport you easily. So you have to maintain your status. So for F1 visa, it's to be enrolled full-time each semester at the university. So you can't do part-time anymore. You can only do full-time. Ensuring that your Form I-20 is up to date and is signed by your DSO. And you can do the employment on campus up to 20 hours per week. it is allowed for during the academic term.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a break, for example, summer or winter break, you can work full time for the hours.
Mm-hmm.
As for OPT, we're gonna talk about it a little bit later. Optional practical training.
Mm-hmm.
It is available for up to 1 year
Mm-hmm.
after graduation for all the majors.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're science, technology, engineering, and math major,
Mm-hmm.
it could be up to 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
You can add two more. You can extend it. As for J1 visa, so you have to, as I said before, complying with the terms of your exchange program.
Mm-hmm.
You have to ensure that your GS 2019 is up to date and signed by your program sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
And J1 students can engage in academic training, both during and after their program for a special period. But usually, especially when you are sponsored by the program, you cannot really work in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and there's also a rule that I'm gonna cover a little bit later for
Mm-hmm.
some exchange programs. So make sure to follow that.
Mm-hmm.
As for M1, you need, as with F1, to maintain full-time enrollment in your vocational program, adhering to the regulations of your program and reporting any changes to your DSO. And employment opportunities for M1 visa holders are limited to practical training directly related to their course of study.
Mm-hmm.
So it's usually just practical training. You can't really do anything else, like with F1, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Post-completion options. So now we're going to talk about what you're going to do after you finish.
Mm-hmm.
So when you finish university, for example, and you want to, let's say, stay in the United States, as I said before, the first thing you can do on F1 visa is stay there on OPT. So F1 students can apply for OPT to work in the US for up to 1 year after graduation. And STEM students can extend OPT for an additional 24 months. So total 3 years. You can also change the status of your visa. So you're not the student anymore, no longer. So you may apply to change your visa status to another non-immigrant category. For example, H1B. So if you got the job, I'm very happy for you because it's a rare thing. You can ask your employer to give you all the necessary documents and change your status to the employment visa. And after completing your program or OPT, you have 60-day grace period to prepare for departure from the US. Or you can, during those 60 days, you can change your visa status. Or if you decided to, let's say, begin a new program, for example, you studied in bachelor degree and you want to go for master, you have those 60 days to begin a new program of study, change your visa, get a new one, whatever. As per J1, as I said, you can do academic training. So they can engage in academic training related to their field of study for up to 18 months or up to 36 months for postdoctoral training. The rule that I was talking about, which is quite important, 2-year home country physical presence requirement. So when you are sponsored by the Department of State, when you're engaged in the program, sometimes J1 visa holders are required to return to their home country for at least 2 years after their program ends. So sometimes you can have a waiver, but it has to be very specific circumstances that you can't really be in your home country anymore in terms of safety reasons. Or United States really needs you. Like you're a overqualified worker and they really want you to be back. But until then, you can only travel to the United States. You can study on F1 visa. You can get any non-immigrant visa. But if you intend to immigrate to the United States at some point, I'm not sure if you have a marriage with an American or if you're moving there on a talent visa or a working visa, you can't do that until you lived in the country for 2 years. Yeah. So if your sticker in the passport says 2 years rule applied, you have to go back, live there for 2 years, and then you can enter the US again.
This is super important. And you guys who are applying to Czech foundations for financial support for your studies, some of these foundations have this rule actually. So make sure you know about it and you really pay attention, like whether the foundation is something you want to go through, even though they are supporting you. Because if you are not ready to then come home for 2 years and be here in the Czech Republic, the foundation might not be a great idea for you. For instance, I know that the Fulbright Commission that, is my roof under the Education USA, they have that requirement, as well as the Bacala Foundation and the Kellner Family Foundation. So I know you guys are sending applications to these foundations, so just make sure you understand the rules and you can follow them.
Yes, absolutely. But even though if you're there for J1 for exchange program, you can still change your status. For example, if you decided to get an additional training, if you decided to get education, something non-immigrant, again, you can change your status for non-immigrant category, but still you would have that 2-year rule. So, for example, if you went there for an exchange, you liked it a lot, you decided to go to university, you finished that university, you will have to go back home for 2 years. You can't immigrate to the United States. You have to go back. You need to follow that 2-year rule. So I would recommend rather go back, live for 2 years, and then go to study. As for M1 visa, as I said, practical training up to 6 months. And the employment opportunities are limited. So yeah, if you need some kind of employment, F1 is better. F1 is the best one in this case. Now about traveling, because some of you might want to go home during your break or during your exchange, and I'm gonna explain if you're eligible to go home or not in general. So before traveling to the United States, ensure that you have all the necessary documents for entry and re-entry. So for my 20 and DS 2019, again, I told you, keep these forms, original forms, signed, accessible, because you would need to present them to the US Customs and Border Protection upon arrival. So you come to the customs and they are asking you, okay, your documents, and you're giving them the passport and the form. So it's either I-20 or DS 2019. So make sure that you can re-enter after that. Usually what was happening to me, for example, with DS 2019, I had only one entrance, even though my visa was like multi-entry. On my DS 2019, it said that I can enter only once. So by the rule of the program, I was not able to go outside of the United States. If some emergency happens, I can talk to the organizers of the program, and they could potentially give me another DS 2019, which states that I can re-enter again. So I go home, do the emergency, then I go back and then re-enter. But usually it's like it has to be something really like fundamentals. It's like, I don't know, it shall be a big problem. And usually they don't do that. Just because you wanted to go to Canada or Mexico, no. It doesn't work like that. And I live next to Canada, like 20 minutes away from the border. I could not go to Canada because of that. Valid visa. So ensure that your visa is valid for the entry into the US. Check the expiration date and any conditions attached to your visa. So as Hani said, for example, when you go to study, You can enter 30 days prior to the day of studying,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't enter, for example, 40 days prior to the day. So like you still need to know the entry date at
Mm-hmm.
the first date on your visa that you can enter. You can't enter earlier, 1 day or two. It has to be that. So
You
make sure
could,
to follow.
but you would have to do it on a different visa, basically. So you
Yeah,
could
it
do
would
like,
be like a
yeah,
tourist visa. Yes,
ESTA for
yes.
2 days, and then you would switch to your F1. But it's not necessary. So just do it 30 days. It's still plenty of time, and yeah, you will be fine.
Yeah. But I'm talking to those people who need a visa
Yeah,
going to the US even for travel purposes,
yeah,
like
awesome.
because for the EU citizens it's
Mhm.
easier because you have a period of time for traveling without any like tourism visas.
Mhm.
For those who unfortunate to have another citizenship, you guys would need another sticker in your passport
Yeah.
saying that you can travel.
Oh,
But I would rather better just wait 30 days before so you
yeah.
can easily go there. As per passport, valid passport with you at all times.
Mhm.
If your passport is expires, you need to change it.
Mhm.
So make sure it's valid for at least 6 months beyond your intended period of stay in the US.
Mhm.
And additional documentation, it really depends on your visa type. You may need to provide additional documentation such as financial records,
Mhm.
proof of enrollment, evidence of your ties with your home country.
Mhm.
At the border, they might also ask, for example, where you're going to stay, where you're going to leave, do you know the address, what's the address of the university, what is your major, so what is the program, who is your academic advisor, so all of those kind of different questions.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's intimidating, and they can ask you also for like a second step interview.
Mhm.
Don't be afraid of that. Just know the whole information.
Yeah.
That's all you need. For international travel during your studies,
Mhm.
make sure that you have the signed form. For my 20, it's easier to travel.
Mhm.
For DC 2019, as I said, usually it's not allowed to travel outside because you're completing exchange in the US, not somewhere else. So you
Mhm.
can't really travel much. But if they allow you to do so, well, then you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you have any questions, because I think that's the information I wanted to tell you. I don't
Mhm.
think I have anything else covered.
Uh-huh.
I think I've mentioned pretty much everything that you need to know. We can move to Q&A sessions if we have any questions. If not, feel free to type your questions in the chat right now,
Mhm.
or later you can send it to Honey by email, Instagram. You can put it in the comments on YouTube, and I would love to answer those questions as well.
Awesome. So we actually have two questions here. One of them
Oh,
says, what if I lose my passport in the US? Uh,
that's an emergency.
That's an emergency, and that's why the embassies are there. There is even a Czech embassy in the United States that's there to help Czech citizens, when it comes to this emergency. So don't worry, reach out, schedule an appointment. It would be great if you made copies prior to leaving to everything, like make copies of your I-20, of your passport, and so forth. And everything can be resolved. Don't panic. People are there to help you. You can always reach out to us here in the Czech Republic as well, and I'll connect you to the departments of the US Embassy here. Okay.
Yeah,
And
but also make sure that you have like some kind of additional original documents that you have to how to say that, to prove your identity basically, because for some countries, I'm not sure about Czech Republic, but for
Mhm.
example, for my country, if I lose my passport, I need to give them another original document of my to prove my identity.
Mhm.
Otherwise, if I don't have any originals on me,
Mhm.
proving that, I don't know, driving license, for example, or your
Mhm.
in-state ID or
Mhm.
something else, um, I would need to bring another two people
Mhm.
with me to the embassy, and they would need to prove that they know me and that's really me there. Or I would need to ask my parents to send me, for example, the documents from home or something else. So it's really a lot of stuff to
Yeah.
do, a big hustle. So make sure you don't really lose your passport
Yeah.
while traveling. Like that's why I said that you have to put it in the safe box.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
it's there sealed and you don't touch it at all.
I
Yes.
understand. It can happen, but if it doesn't, it's better for you and for everyone and for your mental health. So,
Yes, yes, I agree.
okay, there is another question. What if my parents wants to visit? Do they have to go through this whole thing?
Well, they're visiting you on travel
Yes.
purpose. So you like if you have the period that is not covered by the visa, you can
Mhm.
enter, for example, for up to 90 days, as
Mhm.
far as I remember, for the EU citizens.
Yes.
They don't have to do anything. Like
Mhm.
they just go to the system. They
Mhm.
tell the US government like, "Hi, I'm visiting from this to this," like and so on. I have my booking, I have like my flights, and they tell the same thing on the border. They
Mhm.
pay, I think, like some kind of entry fee to the
It's the
US.
ESTA, right? It's the ESTA visa that they pay, and I think it's like $15 or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So yeah. Uh-huh.
And that's it.
Mhm.
That's it.
Mhm.
If your country has to issue a travel visa, then yes,
Mhm.
they would need to go to the US embassy, to the consulate. They
Mhm.
would need to prove all of the itinerary, like
Mhm.
I am
Mhm.
visiting my son or daughter in the US.
Mhm.
I have this hotel, these flights, this is my financial documents like bank statements,
Mhm.
and something else.
Mhm.
And they just get the travel visa and they travel to the US.
Okay. There
That
is
would be the
actually
thing.
one more question, and that is the person is asking, is the interview at the US Embassy in Prague, is it in English or in Czech?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll take that one because I was
Sure.
doing my visa, I think 3 years ago. It was happening in English. It was very basic question, something that Daniel mentioned before. I would just like to stress out that you arrive on time. They're not gonna let you in very early on. And even though you booked a certain time or a certain, slot, you are gonna wait and you're gonna wait for 2 3 hours, so really like make that day for that interview. Also, they're not gonna let you in with your phone or your iPad or your computer. They're gonna take
Don't take your backpack, bags, anything. No, just your
nothing.
passport and documents. That's it.
Exactly. They're not gonna let you in. They'll keep it in a safe box for you. It will be waiting downstairs, so it's quite boring, but you will have to wait, and it's okay. There is a lot of people you can talk to, but the interview itself was in English, and they kept my passport for 2 days, so just keep that in mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but sometimes they don't even have the safe boxes. So
Yeah.
don't bring, like, if you can bring nothing with you
Mhm.
except the documents,
Yeah.
just bring that with you. But I think it makes sense to have it in English. First of all, you're going to study in the US in English.
Mhm.
So what is the point of having the interview in Czech?
Mhm.
The US consulate usually speaks the language of the country where you're having the interview.
Mhm.
And if you misunderstand something, you might ask,
Mhm.
but better be prepared to answer all of the questions in English, of course.
Yes.
Yes, that's it.
Lastly, I would just share that there is a photo box within the embassy. So in case you are in the middle of the interview and you realize you forgot your picture, your headshot, you can still run downstairs. You pay 200 crowns and they'll give you 4 photos. So don't worry, nothing happens. You don't have to reschedule. You can still do it on the spot.
Yeah, I forgot to say about the pictures in the presentations. Also, make sure that you have the American format for the
Yes,
pictures
it's much
because
bigger. Yeah,
European visas are different from the
yeah,
Americans.
yeah.
So you have to when you're taking a picture in the studio, for example, somewhere in the city, make sure to tell them you're taking it for the American visa, not just for any visa, but American visa. Same goes, for example, if you're going to participate in the green card lottery
Mhm.
once a year. They would also ask you to have the American type of visa picture. So make sure to have it.
Yeah, it's
And yeah, I think is that it for the
I
questions?
think that is it. I think that is it. And guys, I wanted to encourage you. I know it seems like a lot of paperwork, but It will guide you through. It's very intuitive, so don't worry. If you have any questions, let me know, let Daniel know. On the last slide, there are our email addresses, our contact information. So feel free to get in touch, and I'm happy to walk you through it. We can share screens. I'm happy to fill out all the paperwork with you. I just hope this is the last step, you know, like you have gone through everything, the application process, you were successful. So this is the last step before you and the plane, you know? So I am so ready to help you, and Daniel as well. So thank you, Daniel, so much for sharing very detailed information.
Oh, thank you so
And
much for
yeah,
having me here, for inviting me. Thank you for attending today's webinar. If you have been here live, if you're watching it in the record,
yeah.
big congratulations with your acceptance to the US institutions. It's going to be the greatest time of your life. I hope that you found this information helpful in understanding the requirements and the procedures for obtaining F1, J1, and M1 visas for studying in the United States. To recap, in this presentation, we've covered the application process for each visa, eligibility for interview waivers, maintaining your visa status during your stay, post-completion options, and travel procedures. So if you missed anything else, go to the record, go back, just screenshot everything. And if you have, again, any questions or any additional information, you can always reach out to us. I want you to have a great day and best of luck with your studies and the exchange in the United States. You can reach us here in the slides by email or in Instagram or in any other social media. And we would be really happy to help you. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye.